Most of us aren't aware of it, but the county has a criminal laboratory that's responsible for processing every piece of evidence taken at the scene of a crime or any incident and then later used in court. What you need to know is how bad the situation is at the lab. It's woefully understaffed, underbudgeted, and relying on outdated equipment. Now, you may not think the situation affects your life, but it is taking a toll on the legal system, and we're all impacted. Joining us this morning is Ron Berry, director of the County Crime Lab, and he has been for the last 2 years. Welcome to Inside San Diego.
Thank you very much.
Can you give us an idea of the range of analysis, of investigation that you do in the course of your work at the Crime Lab?
Well, yes, you find that just about everything in the world can become physical evidence. Some of the very common things that we commonly have to encounter are things like traffic alcohol samples, blood and urine specimens, over 21,000 a year.
You process over 21,000?
That's correct. We also look at lots of narcotics cases, approximately 6,000 cases involving narcotics. And as you know, the war on drugs is a big concern currently. And so we commonly see lots of those types of samples. But in addition to those very common types of items, we also have a variety of other types of evidence, things dealing with major cases, homicides, rapes, where we're looking for blood and semen, hairs and fibers, particulate matter, which may be hairs and fibers. So it runs the gamut of virtually everything, and there's a lot more than just commonly fingerprints that the public may be familiar with.
Now, we went down to the Crime Lab, and just kind of give us an idea of what we're looking at, Ron, as we look at this video.
Yes, in addition to various things we do, we also look at blood alcohol samples. We had a reconstruction of a crime scene there previously. Here we're actually analyzing blood alcohol with a manual method. You can actually see the graphical results of these analyses as they're being conducted. We have lots of cases involving firearms. Here we have one being dusted for fingerprints. In addition to fingerprints on firearms, of course, ballistics tests are very important to us. Here we're looking for serial numbers and there's a lot of evidence that can be determined from an actual firearm. Here we're test firing to determine the distance away a firearm is fired to the target, in this case on a piece of clothing. These are important issues when one deals with homicide cases and trying to interpret them. Here we currently show a bullet being compared, another important area that takes a great deal of time for analysis. There's a lot of sophisticated areas within our crime laboratory. Here we have a Fourier transform infrared spectrophotometer that's being utilized for analysis.
Wow, you know, I look at all of this and all that you're expected to do, and you have a budget of about $1.8 million and a staff, including clerical, everyone, of about 26. Who do you have to do all this for? What law enforcement agencies?
We have 17 cities throughout the county that we're actually working for now. We have about 1.2 million people that we're servicing, and we also have a variety of other agencies, such as the California Highway Patrol represents one of our biggest customers.
How bad is the backlog there right now? And I've said, and Attorney Ed Miller has said, hey, these folks do an incredible job, but they've just got way too much to do and no money and no people to do enough with.
Well, there's all sorts of different backlogs we have to deal with. In homicide cases where we're particularly backlogged, it's quite severe. We're only able to address the ones that are going to court. Our biggest problem is the cases that are under investigation that we really had to put on the burner because of the more important cases actually being invested in to actually go into the court situation.
So what you've got is, as long as it's delayed, you may have innocent people who are being kept in jail. If it goes on long enough, the guilty may go free, and the courts are kind of with their hands tied because there's not the proper evidence involved that's been processed?
Well, that's right. We have homicide cases that have a variety of items that have to be processed, that have to be put on hold. Primarily cases like alcohol and narcotics that already have suspects identified that are awaiting trial, we try to focus on, and it's all we can do to keep up with those.
You know, the case of Roy Johnson, the 69-year-old man who was attacked and killed by dogs in Del Zura. Now, that happened nearly 4 months ago, and the results of the evidence has not been analyzed there. In the meantime, they don't know who's going to be charged if anyone in his family doesn't know. so it brings it home.
That's right. Everybody does get involved. We find that some of the evidence we're having to look at is not the most pleasant in the world. Dog droppings, for example. Many of these cases are underway. They're in the process of being analyzed, but we constantly have to keep changing our priorities because there's other cases that are going to court.
And it's painstaking. This must take, I mean, I look at some of these, you know, pictures on the videotape, and everything takes a great deal of time.
Exactly. One has to be able to spend a great deal of time to do it right, because we're concerned not only for the prosecution, but for the defense. We're trying to take a very neutral position here and trying to do a good job to provide information for both parties involved in the case.
Give us an idea. I think the range of what you do is phenomenal, but an idea of here where evidence resulted in the conviction of a man for murder.
Yes, this is somewhat of an historical case. As you can see, Jimmy Carter's running for president, but back in about '76, we had a homicide case where a suspect actually stepped on a newspaper article that was at the crime scene. He stepped in the victim's blood and then left his bloody shoe print right on an article dealing with the Supreme Court lifting the death penalty ban. This is very, very unusual, obviously, but this particular type of evidence eventually led to the Oceanside Police Department identifying this suspect, and ultimately 2 weeks later he was arrested, and this was instrumental in his conviction. And this involved not only shoe print evidence, but fingerprint evidence and blood typing, a combination of many factors all combined together.
Now, I know you also have with you another piece of evidence. Was this in the case of a homicide, or was this a crime?
Yes, this was involved with a homicide case. It's a knife package that the characteristics concerns here happen to be some residue that was actually on the knife, some adhesive residue. And this really shows the degree of different types of evidence that we have to deal with. It's very difficult to continue to do routine things. We find that many times each case is unique in itself and offers something as unique as an adhesive on a knife for examination.
So we have an idea of what you're up against, but it's kind of crazy dealing with what you've got. I also understand that the people are the lowest paid in the state, of all the counties in the state.
That's right. About every survey that's been conducted shows we're the lowest paid. I'm in the process of right now trying to identify additional people in our budget to try to increase our staffing, and we find, in fact, that people are leaving. I've just been informed this morning, in fact, we're losing another that's going to work elsewhere for another agency. In
the 30 seconds we have left, the answer, a lot of people are resurrecting, talking about this 19-year-old proposal to create a regional lab. Is that a possibility?
It certainly is a possibility. The areas I would be concerned about is trying to improve the service. Saving money is a difficult thing to assess with a merger. Difficult for me to understand, because I think the taxpayers are getting quite a bargain with what we have right now, the staff we have. But certainly to enlarge or to perform better would certainly be a goal for this merger. Well, I hope people are well aware of what you all have to handle and the job that you do on a short budget and staff. Thank you, Ron. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bill.